North Carolina voters have decided to rewrite the state constitution, approving a constitutional amendment banning marriage equality. North Carolina is now the 30th state with an amendment declaring marriage as a union between one man and one woman. 61% voted yes and 39% voted no. Today's vote comes as pressure now mounts on President Obama to officially express his clear opinion on marriage equality.
He should man up and say, this is what I believe. And I think he doesn't lose any African-American votes. Jonathan is absolutely right. And the people who vote solely on this issue, a single-issue voter, gay marriage, none of them are voting for Barack Obama now, and they're not going to vote for him whether he says he's against it.
As for Vice President Joe Biden, today he remained unapologetic for saying he's absolutely comfortable with marriage equality.
No one's ever doubted I mean what I say. The problem is I sometimes say all that I mean.
Joining me now is Anna Marie Cox, political columnist for The Guardian, and Richard Socarides, former president of Equality Matters, which advocates for marriage equality, and a former advisor to President Clinton. Thank you both for joining me. Richard, why is this pressure building on the president? There isn't any actual governing action for him to take. It seems to be just a request for an opinion.
Well, the president is the leader of our country, and hopefully he can lead the country in a certain direction, and this is an important national conversation we're having, so we ought to know where he stands.
Anna Marie Cox, he said in 1996 when he was running for state senate in Illinois that he's in favor of marriage equality, actually, and so it's become very clear that what has evolved is the political difficulty of him saying that as a national candidate. That's really what the evolution has been, isn't it?
Well, what's evolved is his status as a politician, and I think that's the problem. I mean, the wider the stage, sort of the harder it is to get to everyone. You want more and more people to agree with you. But the thing is, the country is definitely catching up with the president and may overtake him. As we all know, support for marriage equality is growing. It hasn't stopped. Over 50% of the people in this country aren't just supportive of civil unions, but actually are supportive of gay marriage. And I think that we're seeing kind of a last gasp here in North Carolina. That doesn't make it any more disappointing. It's very disappointing when any state decides to return to the 1950s. But I think that we are looking at a sea change here. And that's why I think the pressure on Obama is particularly acute, because here is a chance for him to step forward at a point where it could make a difference.
But, you know, as Richard, as you know, the favorability of marriage equality is not evenly distributed over age groups, right, and so it skews younger. The trouble is the younger voter is the unreliable voter when it comes to actually showing up, and the elderly, the older voters show up. That's where most of the opposition is. It skews by age, so you can see what the politics of this is. Let me give you another example. I think we all know the president is absolutely opposed to the death penalty. It is a choice of absolute political convenience that every single presidential candidate in the Democratic Party has taken since everyone who had a chance of the nomination, since Michael Dukakis. And so we all know that the Democrats are lying about that. They actually don't favor it, and they are adopting a position for political convenience, which to me is a moral position. Yeah. I would like them to not take that position, and I know I will never get a chance to vote for a Democratic nominee for president who says, I'm opposed to the death penalty, and I'm not going to stand up and demand that he say that.
Well, we can hope against hope, right, on the death penalty, too. But listen, these results tonight are somewhat disappointing, but it shows we still have a lot of work to do, especially in places in the South, and it's, you know, more evidence of why President Obama should be leading on this issue. And, you know, we hope we will soon. I mean, I think that they are boxed in on this now. Vice President Biden's remarks were, you know, kind of off the cuff, unexpected. That was Joe being Joe. You know, they probably would have been better off if they just left it like that, right? I mean, if they just said, well, you know, that's our guy. But they tried to walk it back, And I think they created this firestorm for themselves, and now they're in a little bit of a crisis today, I think, and trying to figure out what to do next.
Anna Marie, I tend to see political maneuvering in more than one dimension, and so I've been starting to wonder as I've watched this evolve since Meet the Press on Sunday, that I'm wondering if the Obama re-election campaign thinks this is good for them to have a pressure publicly coming at them from their left, which President Obama is resisting, so that this can help him appear more appealing to the middle.
Yes, the lesbian sister soldier moment, or something
Yes,
like that.
in
That
effect,
is the wheels within wheels within wheels. I think you might be relying on your West Wing TV show experience a little bit. I'm not sure if the game is that complicated. I think the Obama campaign would prefer that it be a little more simple. And I do think you're right. I think this is a tough situation for someone with actual moral values, which I would hope that the president has. Someone like Mitt Romney can change his position on something like this, and we don't worry so much. I do think, and I want to, I feel a little silly being so hopeful because this is such a disappointing election return, but I do think we're seeing the last election where both parties are going to put someone forward that is against marriage equality. I really do think that as a country we're moving forward on this, and I think that we're also seeing in this case, Minnesota actually is a very strong possibility that this very similar amendment will not pass, and I think it's because voters are getting tired of trying to weigh in on this. It just doesn't have the same attraction to voters that it did even 4 or 8 years ago.
Let me just note one thing that Anna Marie said, that I really don't think that the president is against marriage equality. I think that he is, with this evolving position, at least we know he maybe is neither for nor against. We know that he's somewhere in the middle.
He's for it. He's just saying this politically.
Listen,
come on.
I think that's right. And whether he announces officially his change of position before or after the election, he's been a terrific gay rights president. I mean, he's really moved the ball forward, and he's going to get a lot of support in the gay community, but more importantly, he's going to get a lot of support from all Americans who care about equal rights for all citizens, whether they're gay or lesbian or heterosexual or whatever.
And my last word on this is agreement with Anna Marie that 4 years from now, favorability for this is going to be up around 60%. The Democratic nominee is going to be in favor of it. Richard Socarides and Anna Marie Cox, thank you both very much for joining me tonight.
Thank
Coming
you.
up,